is to show you. And so here's something from his artist statement, which I thought was very good. It's from his website. My work lives in the space between recognition and abstraction, where the body dissolves, landscapes fracture, and memory becomes color. I've spent decades painting my way through questions about identity, environment, humor, vulnerability, and the subconscious. The figure is often there, but it rarely behaves. It slips in and out of fields of color, hiding behind marks, dissolving into gesture, reemerging as something both familiar and strange. Isn't this a wonderful art statement?
Yes.
I'm interested in tension between control and chaos, refinement and mess, sincerity and absurdity. Some paintings surprise me. Others make me laugh. After many years of teaching, curating, and building artistic communities, I understand art as a conversation, not a monologue. My paintings are invitations. They ask viewers to project their own narratives, memories, and interpretations into ambiguous forms. Humor often sneaks in, so does vulnerability. Ultimately, my work is about persistence, returning to the studio, embracing uncertainty, allowing mistakes to lead somewhere better. Each painting is a negotiation between intention and accident. I begin with an idea, but I stay for the surprise. So, and in addition, I just wanted to say, Mark was also a founding member of Edge Gallery. Way back, was it on Navajo then?
1989, in 5 points.
Yeah. So if any of you remember, all the galleries down there are a whole bunch of them. And Virginia Unseld was also a member and a friend of Mark's, and she recommended him. So thank you so much for coming, Mark, and we're interested to see what you do.
Yeah. On YouTube also, and I always wear a hat. So.
Love the shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's perfect. It's pastel for pastel. So my name is Mark Brasuell. I am originally from West Texas. Anybody know Texas at all?
Sorry.
South of Lubbock, Texas, near Abilene, kind of. It's a little town called Roscoe, which didn't have interested. So I went on from there to the first time I ever. I actually started teaching very early. I was 15 years old, and I was teaching a group of people just like you how to do landscape via the Bob Ross style. I was very good at it. I love landscape. I started in realism. I teach figurative art. I teach realism, all of that stuff. I'm just not interested in it for my own pleasure, you know. So I've been in Denver since 1987. So I'm kind of a Coloradan, kind of. I've taught for over 35 years. I've taught at Metro State University, University of Denver, University of Colorado, Metro State University, and currently I'm teaching at Naropa University. I know someone was familiar with Naropa, which is a school in Boulder which teaches transcendental meditation and writing and poetry. Very famously started by Jack Kerouac, the famous writer, and Allen Ginsberg, the famous poet, and a Buddhist monk. So you don't have to be Buddhist to be in the school, though. So I teach painting, drawing, and art history. I've been painting here since '87, and my first show was in late '88 or '89, and it was at Edge Gallery. Edge used to be a commercial space run by Ken Peterson, and he saw my work at DU, and he asked me to do a show there. And I was doing installation art at the time, and I did this installation that was almost completely black. When you went inside of it, you had to stay there for like about 3 or experience before you saw things. And it was sculptures and paintings and drawings on the wall. And it won Best Installation in Denver from Westward Magazine. I've won about 6 or 7 Best of Denvers over the years. My last one was my retrospective at Regis University, which was a retrospective of my work for the last 25 years. I originally started in oil paint. I moved since then to acrylic. I do a whole series in black and white. I love charcoal. It's one of my favorite things to work with. My last show was called One Track Mind, and it was about reincorporating the figure back into my work and using that as a starting point for the pieces. So they're very abstracted. I have a card up here somewhere. You can see the figure if you look really close, but it's really kind of in this color stories. And that was my last show, and we're currently right in front of Casa Bonita. Core is there, Edge is there, Next is there, and there's a few other, there's a local neighborhood gallery there, and an art store. It's, in the building it says art galleries, so I encourage you to go there. I currently have a piece up at 931 Gallery on Santa Fe. I think some of you might know that gallery. Denise Embry runs that. And we did a collaborative painting. It's 6 feet by 8 feet. And if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see a video of us making that. It was the first time. I've always wanted someone that would paint with me. And in the sense that if I painted something and they accidentally went over mine, it'd be cool. And we would just work in tandem with each other. And that's the way we really did. We worked as one person. And it turned out to be a really interesting mixture of her work and my work. It's blue, very deep, almost ocean colors. So, yeah, and if you have questions, just interrupt.
I'll just mention, it's 931 Santa Fe, Gallery 931,
In a
right
Santa Fe
next
Art
door to
Museum.
Sink Gallery.
Sink Gallery, and then of course Dart is on the corner. So it's right in there. And as mentioned before, I was a member and president of Spark for about 4 years, and that's when Sandy saw my work. And I think was it this show of these pieces?
I think it might
I
have
think
been.
it was, yeah. This, the name of the show was called Schöne Bilder, which I've been learning German for a long time. It means pretty pictures in English. I wanted to make large pastel paintings that were vibrant and beautiful and totally abstract, but you can see images of things in it. Like there's one back there, it's the pink one. It's called Pink Bird, and if you look at the top, you see the head of the bird with the beak kind of in there. So, in German, it's Rosa Vogel. So, yeah.
Where do you get these enormous sheets of pastel paper?
Those I got at a estate sale by a local artist in Lakewood, and I forget what her name is, but she was pretty prolific, and she was not well-to-do, but she had great art supplies. And she had about 20 of these sheets that big, and it's a French paper. I forget what the name of it is, but there is an imprint, so we could look at it if you want. I got those 20 for $40. And if you look at them, they're very thick watercolor paper, and but flat, not textured. So when I got finished using all of them, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get me some more of those. So I looked it up online. They're $245 each.
Wow.
Each. So I'm like, I have to find something else to draw on. So I've been drawing on regular Strathmore. I like Strathmore a lot. you can get oversized pieces at the Gyrie's in Boulder, about this big. And this is a museum board. So this is something that you would normally use to back your piece when you frame it. It has a really nice surface on it. It's really easy to draw on. It's very thick and pretty solid, and I really enjoy using it. It's archival. And I think these are about $18-ish, which is doable. Doable.
Those are like rated by how many ply, right? The
Yeah.
museum board?
Yeah, it's the stiff one.
Okay.
It's the
Like
really-
8 ply or something like that?
Yeah,
Heavy duty?
yeah, you guys can come up and feel it too. It's very sturdy. These are on that fringe paper that's very expensive. In regards to and it was interesting, I didn't realize that Virginia recommended me. Virginia was in Edge Art Gallery for a while. I always loved her work, and I've kept in touch with her over the years. That was like 20-some years ago, at least. Love her stuff, always get her email. And also another name that came up that I was familiar with is Terry Ludwig. I love his pastels. I can't afford them. I got some for free from somebody a long time ago, but they're so lush. I encourage you to buy them if you have the money to buy them. They're lush, really buttery, bright, and you can see the colors. Those are Terry Ludwig and Rembrandt, I believe, is the other brand that use Rembrandt, and there's another one, Creative Color, makes these little bitty ones like this. Hobian makes one also, and they're pretty good for like the details, that kind of stuff. So, I've talked a little bit in the statement about the unconscious. That's kind of what I'm focusing on now. There's a couple of writers I really enjoy. One is Daniel Quinn. He wrote the book Ishmael, My Ishmael, and the Story of B. And it's all about how we have destroyed the world and how we did that. And it's very interesting, it's uplifting, it's about reconnecting with the earth and living in tandem with the earth, that we have not really lived that way. We've kind of lived as the apex predator of the animal kingdom. We do what we want to with the earth, change it, destroy it, trash it, all that kind of stuff. So it's about him coming to terms with, what we need to do to save the world.
What is the name of the author?
Daniel Quinn, Quinn. And there's another author, I can't remember the name of this guy. He wrote The Mind, a Body Prescription, and Healing Back Pain is the other one. And it's all about how traumatic things that have happened in our lives trigger undiagnosed pain. So sometimes if you throw your back out and you don't know why you did it, you did this, that kind of thing. It's probably stress, it's probably some traumatic response that is saying, rather than remember that response, remember pain. You know what that is, and you know how to deal with that. And so it's about that transference that happens. He talks a lot about the unconscious and the subconscious. Subconscious is interesting to do, but the unconscious is really even more deep. It's not based in things. I'll remember what it was later. So I'm just going to show you my process. Please interrupt me. I will talk along the way. I do use, like I said, these are Rembrandt. There are some Terry Ludwigs in there. Like for example, at that estate sale, there's two of these, 2 rows, $1. $1. I know, I couldn't believe it. And I felt bad, because sometimes when you go to estate sales, you're like, oh, I'm rummaging through all the things. But she had a lot of stuff. Paint tubes, big paint tubes for $1. I also use these. They're pastel pencils. I use them when I'm doing smaller work all the time.
What brand are those?
This is Koh-i Noor, Koh-i I-N-O-O-R.
Coroner.
Corner, yeah, it's spelled strangely, so. Very good, really, substantial, just don't drop them. Oh, anybody here work in, color pencil? If you ever drop your color pencils, you can put them in the microwave for a few seconds and it'll reseal them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good tip.
Great idea.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned that I make my own pastels. Some of these are some of my own. I keep all of the shavings and the droppings from this. I have a little L bracket of cardboard, and I just pour it in, you reactivate it with water, and just put it in a mold, or do it like that. Let it dry, and you have, and of course, it's gonna be funky colors. It's gonna be every color, or whatever, unless you separate them out, you know. But I was talking to someone here earlier. The key to doing like bright colors the way I do them is I always push them up against an ugly color or a neutral or something like that. That way it really pops. Because if you have a bunch of just real poppy, bright colors, they kind of cancel each other out and it becomes bright, gaudy, that kind of thing. So I normally listen to music, but I'm not going to put it on today. Normally really loud. I do wear gloves.
What kind of music?
Techno. Techno, like electronic music. I do like folk music a lot, so I do listen to that sometimes, and I do like kind of avant-garde classical music. People like Philip Glass, that type of thing. Oh, Glass, I love his stuff, yeah. I love his operas too. And then there's another classical artist that does operas for TV. His name is Robert Ashley, and they're all spoken word operas, usually about bank robberies and stuff. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Very fun. His most well-known piece is called Perfect Lives. So, and he was a big fan of automatic writing. You guys know what that is, right? Automatic writing is when you just write and you don't think about what you're writing and you just write the words that come right straight into your head. A lot of abstract art is that. It is something that just comes right into your head. You don't analyze it, you don't think about it, you just do it. You do it and deal with it later. Creative Color makes this wonderful pastel. It's called the Big Black or something like that. And it's the blackest black I've ever seen. And it really, because normally when you get charcoal, it's kind of gray, right? Yeah. This is the Big Black. Look how black that is. It's pretty amazing. Oh, I messed it up. Messed up the whole thing. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? So I normally start with black, and I use that, and then I start laying the pastels over the top of it. One thing that I'm not gonna show you today is that I use fixative religiously. And if you're doing pastel, you really need to learn how to do it. Use workable fixative only. Although I have used just clear spray paint before. Well ventilated. I'm horrible at it, so please don't judge me.
Mark, what brand of fixative do you prefer?
Krylon makes a good one, workable fix. If you're doing a finishing spray, Sennelier makes a great one. It works really well. Winston Newton makes a really good final one too. I normally don't fix these at the very end because they're so thick and layered that when you do that, it blows off sometimes and you don't get that immediacy. So if you handle them carefully and you put them under glass, they should be fine. But another thing I was suggesting to someone is hairspray, like Aquanet hairspray, 99 cents. Is a good workable fix. And if you can get the ones that are like the mist ones, not the regular old-timey ones, but the misty ones, they're really even. If you get the
Change the color?
Slightly, but I'll use it as a fixative in the middle. So it's not the final color, that kind of thing. But the old one, you can kind of get drips and drops, which are really cool looking. That's a really great technique if you want to use it, is just take that hairspray and just kind of half do it, and it'll spit little dots out, and it'll change the pastel, and it looks beautiful. It's like freckles, almost. So, but I do like Krylon, I use that, and I also use the just regular clear spray. So I'm going to do something I normally do, which is I start out with a figure, and in this case I'm just going to do my shadow. Hopefully I can do my shadow. Let's see.
Do you want us to turn some lights out?
No, I really need a light, just coming this way. So, but I know what I'm doing. I also use something called asemic writing. Asemic writing is a decorative type of writing that's used mainly kind of in Gothic books and kind of mystical fantasy novels. It generally doesn't mean anything, and I do it all the time. Mine's kind of based on Arabic, and there's another language called Sinhalese that I like a lot. It's a bunch of circles.
What did you call it? No, but before that.
Oh, asemic writing. A-S-E-M-I-C. Yeah. I'll do something for you. There you go. I do use these. These are just regular shop towels, and they work great. They're kind of like velvety feeling. Another good brand to use is Viva. Yeah, Viva towels. They have a really nice texture. They're really thick. So what I normally do now is I kind of have a little bit of a thing of this kind of going like this, and I want to emphasize that. So I'm gonna just smush it around. And honestly, I'm not really thinking of a lot of things other than like, oh, that looks cool, that kind of thing. I do think about composition. I think composition is very important. If you've never taken a composition class, I highly recommend that. Also, a color theory class is a good one.
What class?
Color theory,
And composition.
composition, yeah. It's amazing how much design is actually in abstract art. My black and white drawings kind of start this way, and then I just keep getting darker and darker and darker. See, that's the difference. That's the black one. Yeah.
What was the other one?
It's just regular, I think, general, is what it's called, general.
Charcoal?
Charcoal. But you can use pastel, black pastel, works just as good. I have been doing this kind of long shape like this. It reminds me kind of like the womb or something like that.
What was the brand name for that dark pastel?
It's a create a color. Create a color. And I think it's called Big Chunky Stick or something like Chunky Stick. You can find it online. Guy Reese does have it. You just have to ask him for it. One of my favorite symbols. Two interlinking circles means you're married. I don't mind that you see my fingers in this. A lot of this is gonna be covered up. It is tempting to go, wow, I really like that, just like that. But part of being an artist sometimes is knowing when to stop. Like you can do your hands like that, about that.
You could take your shoes off and walk on it.
I've done it. I consider myself kind of a avant-garde artist, so I do things. I did a painting, it's called tap dancing, a drawing, it was called tap dancing, and I just put the charcoal down, I was tapping around on it, and did it. It was from a story. One thing that you may not know about my work, they look abstract, they all have stories attached to them. Stories from my life, things that have happened to me, things I'm thinking about, that kind of thing. And tap dancing was one, I've always told myself, don't tell people what it's about, because they won't want them. They won't, because some of it's dark. So I was at home visiting from college, and we were watching some kind of innocuous movie. And my father was kind of a racist. He said, oh, is that movie with that tap dancing expletive? And I said, what did you say? And I said, you know, you shouldn't talk like that. You're a Christian. He's a deacon, you know, that kind of thing. And so I did this piece called Tap Dancing. I had the word tap dancing down the bottom. Lady wanted to buy it. And then she has a daughter that's in ballet and likes to do tap dance. And she said, I just have to know what it is. I just have to. And I told her what the story was, and she didn't buy it.
No.
She was like, it's what you think about it, not what I think about it. I mean, I come at it from an emotional place, but it doesn't mean it's about that, in a way, you know? I love to use erasers. You can see how much I do, it's totally black. And when you get like this, you get these.
Calories do you think you burn?
I did a piece a long time ago. It was called Joyce Burns Calories.
Oh.
I had read an article about how if you read James Joyce, that you actually burn calories by reading. so complex. But yeah, I get out of breath, all that kind of stuff.
Mark,
Especially when you're erasing.
do you find that there are certain gestures and certain marks that come to you naturally all the time?
Like the circles, very much so. I also am a big fan of doing something like this, you know, having kind of moving my whole body. If you've ever seen Jackson Pollock's movies or his films, you see how he moves. It's just like a dancer, kind of. And I started with him, even though he is not the best role model. That's the problem. I struggle with this all the time. You ever have an artist or a novelist or something that you really love, and you know that they did something really bad, really bad. William Burroughs, who wrote Naked Lunch, he killed his wife accidentally.
Right.
They were on drugs. But you kind of have to put that in the back of your mind and look at the art, not the artist, kind of thing. So he was horrible. He's horrible to Lee. Lee Krasner is a great artist. If you've never seen her work before, the women in the abstraction show that was here, they had a big one. She's awesome. She's one of my favorite artists. I think she's actually better than him. She is the person that made him famous. Okay, so this is kind of what I call the preamble. I get something down, and then I try to figure out what in the hell I did. Sorry to curse in church.
What were you thinking about when you were doing it?
You know, I've been thinking about palettes and body parts like tongues a lot lately. That looks like a tongue, kind of, doesn't it? I really like to do a lot of very longer movements, so I love when I do something like this. The problem with doing something this big is you have to do big gestures, unless you're gonna do photorealism or something like that. I'm gonna take this off, it's sweaty. So, I kind of just go with it with my bag of tricks and I just go, oh, what color do I want to do today? You know when you break your pastels? I always keep them, and I kind of keep them color coded. There's all the reds, there's the yellows, there's the blues, that kind of thing. So this is a mixture of a lot of different things. So I'm kind of feeling blue today. And some red. So I have done this before. I didn't bring in, I was looking for these drawings this morning. I did a whole series of drawings that were based on this erasure. And I would go in like color by numbers and color all the insides of them. It's really cool. It takes a long time. That's where the pastel pencils come in. So I'm just gonna pick out some shapes here. I would have sprayed this whole thing.
Do you have a name for this phase where you add the color?
When I add the color, no. It's just, it's the beginning, kind of exploratory kind of thing. I do love to use my hands. I think they're the best instrument we have.
Without the gloves, right?
You can do gloves if you want to. I do like the touch, the feel of it. Again, that's why I don't do oil painting anymore. Because I'm just a slob, and I will wash my hands in turpentine, will, accidentally think it's my coffee, all kinds of stuff.
That painting's early morning after a late night.
I'm a pretty nice guy, I don't do that stuff anymore. I'm plain Jane. If they break, they break, you know. I know it's hard to kind of lose this stuff. I teach creativity too. Do you know what the #1 killer of creativity is?
Criticism.
Reason?
Criticism.
Inner critic.
Go even more basic than that.
Thinking.
Fear.
Fear. Fear of failure.
Yeah.
Fear that no one will understand you. Fear that you're gonna do it wrong. Fear that you don't know what you're doing. All those things say, the biggest thing when students do this is that they will sit there and judge it and say, oh, I ruined it now. Like, I do this exercise sometimes my kids love it, sometimes they hate it. I have them work for a whole hour on anything they want to, drawing them themselves, anything like that. And then, at the end of that hour, they have to give their drawing to someone else. And then the instructions up to the other artist is, destroy it. Destroy it. And I had this one student, she's a very kind of well-known artist. Her name is Colleen Tully, she does realism. She's at Valkyrie Gallery. And we ran out of people to swap with, so she got me. And I tore that thing. I mean, I just erased everything, black marks. And she said, I almost walked out the door and cried. And she said, but I listened to what you said, and I completed it again, and it turned out so much more lush. It has all that history, all the stuff behind it. And it's a way for you to deify your work. You know, we think, oh, this is beautiful, it can't be touched. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, I could never sell that? It's so personal to me. I'm like, oh, really? The Museum of Modern Art wants to buy your work for $1 million. And you're gonna say, well, that's different. I want people to have my work. I want people to look at it. I want people to say, you know, I saw Mark Brasuell, you should look at his work somewhere. That's what you want. If you go with it in this more angular way, it gets a little bit more solid. I'm kind of feeling Bronco's a little bit, there's a little Bronco on this one. Blue and orange is a really great combo for natural opposites.
So Mark, you said that composition is very important, and yet you don't compose a draft or a study ahead of time.
Now, I do all kinds of drawings, I draw every day in my sketchbook, it's in my bag, right there. But I rarely use something from those, other than maybe a compositional idea. Yeah, really dense at the top, nothing at the bottom, that kind of thing. I'm painting today too, so what I've had in my mind is kind of really pale pink and like pale blues, kind of pottery looking, and then I'm gonna go back over it, but I see people, I don't normally do wet on wet when I do acrylic, which is wet on wet is when you're using wet media on top of wet media. And it blends well, it's really great, especially in oils, it's great. But I try to do that in the beginning sometimes now, and I really enjoy that. So.
But have you thought about composition in terms of this one?
This one, yeah, I was thinking central, I like how this is off balance with this and this. I'm thinking like yellows and kind of lemon colors in here. And maybe bounce that off with the purple on the bottom, kind of like that painting back there. But I saw this and I'm like, oh, I want to do that now.
I'm sorry, I've gotten here so late. What kind of paper are you using?
This is museum board. I normally use Strathmore or even Canson makes a really good one, Canson does. Almost any of them will work. You want to work thick and you want to work probably not with a lot of texture. So hot press only, probably.
That sticks to hot press?
Oh, yeah, this is hot press.
Wow.
Here.
So you don't care for sanded papers then?
I think it wastes your pastels. It takes a lot of pastels to do that.
Yes.
I've seen them and I've used them before and I'm like, oh my God, it's taking forever to build this up. So here's my second favorite color. It's sky blue. Two different variations. This is an ultramarine. This is cobalt. Color theory is very important. Anybody know what the difference is?
Red.
Warm. This one's warm, this one's cold.
Do you ever use pan pastels?
Pan, I have, yeah. They're really good for building out colors. I didn't bring them today, but I just use like makeup applications, you know, like makeup stores.
Yes, thank you. Yes, she's fine. They took her car before they can do the appraisal and stuff. So she doesn't have a replacement yet, a rental or anything, so she has no vehicle to bring her painting, and she tried to call some people, but she tried Xenia, but Xenia's out of town right now, so
What about Susan Foster? Is she showing?
no. But I thought, if anybody was up that way, that even if they're not in the show, maybe somebody would be willing to help her out and go get it and bring it up. I could meet somebody somewhere, but I have to go pick up Susan at the airport on Monday. So,
I have a question. Because the limited tooth on hot press, what do you do when you've maxed out the layering?
Fix it. Do the workable fix in there, and it gives it a tooth too. That's why sometimes I use clear spray paint, because it leaves a subtle kind of sandpaper texture to it. Because there will be you're exactly right, there will be a point where I put so much pastel on there that nothing else will go there.
Use like a foam brush to brush out some of the excess pastel?
I do use brushes sometimes. I really like the tactile nature of my fingers. If I was doing something much more precise, I definitely would do that. But you can build up texture through the fixative. Like this would be great if I had fixative now to hit this right here, and if I went over it, it would be really nice, you know, because it's the opposites. So, actually, I was thinking of Broncos. So I'm thinking of maybe balancing this out with having something flow this way, something go that way. And I love, since I have this, I can just carry on to this. And you can kind of see how I'm slowly building up an idea. I remember once I did this piece, I was doing sculpture for a long time, and I had this very kind of avant-garde teacher, and I was out of school at that point, and I did this box, and it was like just a wooden thing, and it had an insert inside of it. And I was like, I'm thinking about putting something in that and give it more meaning. And they said, why can't it just be about that? Why can't it just be about this thing and this thing going inside of it? So sometimes I think about that a lot. It's like, why? Because when I say subject matter, I'm not talking about my dead grandma or my long lost love or anything like that. I'm just thinking of memories of the colors that are happening. So you can see the second time going over this, it's much more solid. I try to eliminate, one thing I really don't like a lot in pastels is when you see that white looking through. So I say this with painting too, is get rid of the white as soon as you can, unless you're doing watercolor. And that's backwards, right? I love watercolor, but I think watercolor is probably one of the most difficult mediums to figure out. And if you go on my website, you'll see I do watercolors too. I love doing watercolor. So I have this kind of nice, let's see something like this. So you can kind of see a little bit them kind of coming up with a composition here. What I'm thinking now is that to take this red all the way up here, just to kind of balance out down there. So let's do that real quick. I don't worry about this blue tape. When I take it off, I just pull it in. That's the other thing a lot of people do. They're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? It has a hole in it. Don't tell anybody it has a hole in it. You know, don't point out your mistakes. I love it, but I just really hate this part. Now they're going to fixate on that. I had in a pinch, don't tell anybody, that if I have a drawing that's not framed, and I fix it to the wall with tape or some other kind of mechanism, and it keeps falling off before the show, I'll put a nail right through it. Right in the corners, paint over it, not tell a soul. And then later on, I'll fill it in with paper pulp or something like that, or joint compound, and then you can take paper and glue and mix it up together really finely, and it'll makes paper, basically.
Elmer's glue?
You use Elmer's glue and a toilet paper. It makes the best paper. It's what, it doesn't matter what kind of. I don't use Charmin, I'll tell you what, this is kind of weird, it's not disgusting. I hate their commercials. Those bears wiping their butt.
I know.
Oh, it makes me think of all the gross stuff in the world. So I use Costco.
My husband loves the bears.
Costco. There's another brand that kind of does that too. I'm like, really? You know, and they have been criticized for that. And I remember hearing this. They don't care. They say our ads are very effective and we sell a lot.
The American way.
I know, that's what the consumer wants. So I'm gonna come back over this with an orange. As a highlight, you can see how it pops. You can kind of even hear, I'm going much softer now. I'm not pushing it in. This is just gonna lay on the top. So I like that a lot. Pop it up even further with this yellow.
This is kind of soothing to watch.
It's nerve-wracking. It's not, actually. I've painted in front of people many times, so. Yeah. See how that really, yeah, if you come in here with a very light, almost pale white blue, it's gonna really pop.
When you did the collaborative painting, was the other artist abstract painter also?
Yes, it was Denise Embry from 931 Gallery. I don't know if you've seen her work there. She does very minimal artwork, which I really have always admired. I just can't do it. I always feel like it needs something else. It needs more shape to me. But some of my favorite artists are minimalists. Rothko, I love his stuff. Ornette Newman. Helen Frankenthaler.
So you didn't find each other trying to undo what the other person did?
You know, sometimes I find myself oh no, yeah, all the time. And she was open to it.
Okay.
So that was great, you know. I'm like, I don't know about that, what if I did this? And I do it, and she's like, yeah, that's fine. When you work in acrylic, you can erase what you do easily. If it's dry underneath, just spray bottle, you know. Same thing with your clothes, by the way. You have much more time than you think you do. Usually a couple days. So just soak it really well, put soap on it, and then just kind of mildly abrade it, and it will come off.
Do you use your pastels with other mixed media?
Usually acrylic or watercolor. Is a really good one. Not oil. You can use oil in almost any application, but don't do oil and then acrylic, because it'll peel off.
Right.
So, but you can do acrylic and oil all the time. This is another thing I'm kind of getting known for, is rather than trying to smooth everything out, I start to leave texture. That looks great to me.
Mark, what is it you enjoy about using pastel for a piece like this when one might expect it to be done in oil or acrylic?
Quicker,
Quick,
less media, less prep, less drying time. To me, it's drawing is a much more immediate kind of thing. And, you know, the ironic thing is, in my art paintings, I'm trying to make them look like pastels. I keep doing these textures like I do in this, you know, thinking it's like a pastel.
that's fun.
I'm like, I wonder if I could get that same texture, the same thing in pastel.
If you were to finish this, how long would it take you?
You know, it can take anywhere from a few hours to a few weeks. I'm a very big fan of looking at your work constantly. Sometimes when I'm working on stuff, I'll put it in a hallway or somewhere place that I cross by all the time. And after once in a while, I'll go, oh, that's what's wrong with it. You know. But look, I think it's looking great so far.
Mark,
Yeah,
Do you mind if we take a quick
right?
break?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, can we, take a break, make it pretty quick, be back in 7 minutes?
Yes.
7 and a half. 7 and a half, yeah. 7 minutes.
There was a thumbprint, and it was his thumbprint.
Oh, my.
So the thing she bought for $2 or something like that was, I think, $30 million, something like that. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys follow the art market at all now. It's, the primary market, which is just us selling to the consumer, right, is not good right now. There's very few people that are really actively buying art. Not like the 90s, not like the early 80s. But the secondary market, which is the market after someone buys something and they take it to auction, is going insane. Insane. There has been 3, I think now, paintings that are $500 million. $500 million.
But I keep hearing advertisements on like podcasts for art investing, like
Right.
mutual funds and things like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the artists is Michelangelo, Da Vinci. His Salvator Mundi, which was kind of an unattributed painting for a while, but they finally decided it was a Da Vinci. That one sold for 450 million pounds or something, so that's over $500 million. Jean-Michel Basquiat, who is a famous 1980s abstract painter, he sold one for 500 million. And I just saw recently, Rembrandt had a small drawing that had never been on the market ever, and it sold for 350 million. And that's not uncommon. And so the secondary market is going crazy.
So what does that do for us?
It doesn't do anything. Well, you know, a smart thing that some people do, especially like higher end artists, is they do like a back end clause, which is when I sell something to you, if you sell it within 20 years, I get 5%, 10% of what that is. And that's a smart move for a lot of people. Doesn't mean they might hold out after that 20 years. People do that copyright thing all the time. Another thing is, I don't know if you guys would be interested in knowing, is how to price your art. Anybody know how? How do you do it? What I do is find someone here in Denver that you really like their work, you think it's similar to yours, and they're well known and they sell, right? Go 1/4 of their price. 1/4. So if someone's selling for $1,000, you make $250. And if you sell that painting, or sell several paintings, 3 or 4, then you up it about 5% every time. So the next ones are gonna be 350, 450. Get into museum, add up 1 to that. You know, you get into a big museum, add, another digit. I use that technique and it works really well. Because people that buy your work in a contemporary art setting are buying it because they love it, but they're also buying it because of the value of it. And they know that. And you either have to make peace with that, or you have to make artwork that just doesn't sell on purpose. And people do it all the time. I'm running out of true reds. True red is usually cadmium. There's another kind called Pyrole, Pyrole red. It's like a natural, pure red. I use it all the time in painting. I have discussions with one of the people at Europa. Her name is Charmaine Suh, and she used to be a gallery person at the Art Museum, at the, what's the one called her? The Dairy Center, And we get into arguments all the time on what a true red is. And she thinks it's more orangey, and I don't. And so I showed her Pyro Red, and she goes, wow, that is really pretty true. And I said, it's not a cadmium. I'm like, I'm the colorist, not you. Be quiet. Listen to me.
So you pastel are pretty hard doing that.
This is Creative Color. Let me get a Terry. This is the Terry Ludwig. You can pass it around if you want. Just feel how soft it is. These are thicker too, and they're great. But that, one stick of that big is like $8.
Oh, yeah.
That's like 3 minutes for you.
Yeah.
No kidding. I think about that often. So I said I was gonna go purple, here I lied. He also has these really cool ones, I don't know what they're called, but where he intentionally mixes a couple of different colors or puts flakes of other colors in it. I love those because they're like a surprise.
Is that Terry you're talking about?
Terry, yeah.
They confetti?
Kind of like that, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a surprise when you don't realize you picked one of those up.
Yeah.
Exactly, you better know what you're doing. I do this often, and I'm just doing it right now to myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing like that?
Did you ever do any graffiti art?
I haven't, I love graffiti art though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like vandalism, when it's just names, I'm not really big on that. But if someone makes pictures, like Denver has some of the best graffiti downtown.
The train cars.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't mind train cars that much because train cars are kind of ugly anyway. But don't go over the window so you can't see,
But there are walls that they have designated for graffiti, and then they just let people paint over
Yeah.
them, so,
And that's great.
yeah.
The problem with graffiti is some of it is done by gang members, obviously. And that's just scratch. I call it chicken scratch. And that's the name or an X or something that's a diss to someone. But there's a really beautiful painting by Greg Deal of a Native American woman downtown. It's just gorgeous, really beautiful. There's tons of really great ones. We even have an art tour on that too. You can get a tour. So this is the color. This is the lavender color. It looks really great with blue.
It's really interesting that you're getting so many layers on such a smooth surface.
And honestly, you don't really, it's a misconception that you have to have a rough surface in order to achieve texture. There's many ways you can do it. You can put silica in it, you can put pumice, you can buy pumice and that works really well. Dirt, I used to use dirt all the time, sand. But you can get the same thing just building layers of paint too, and change your technique. So if you start off wet on wet, let that dry, and then do dry brush over the top, and it'll just hit the tops of it. It's really beautiful. So you can kind of do that with pastel too. Just build up your layers with the base of it. See, now I feel like more than just a blue shape. Now it's kind of coming around her. some of these in here that I'm like, oh, that's my favorite one, I don't wanna use all of it. This one, I love this pink color. I don't have to know what that means.
Did your writing along the bottom say anything, or was it just,
No, it's called a
Scribbly.
Semitic language, which is just made-up language. It's decorative in nature. There's a lot of people that do that. There's even some graffiti artists that do it. It's called calligraffiti. Part
Yeah.
calligraphy, part graffiti.
So, is there an alphabet for it, or is it?
No, no.
It's just sweet,
just the
The
feeling
person I
of?
live with, he is what's called a polyglot, and he creates his own constructed language, and he has his own language out there. If you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, his language is on one of those toy boxes. I think it's called Talon. I actually did a painting with it. Love that color.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you, you just change it.
What I think is interesting is when you started with the black line and created the movement, and you actually created a structure that is somewhat designed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Without
that's-
designing it.
Without designing it, and now you reinforce with colors, selecting areas for colors.
Mm-hmm. I love to do this. This is what I call a wandering line. I always trace it back to Robert Frost, choosing the direction to walk in and take the left road or the right road. And this is the meandering road. And this color would go really good with it. Another thing with leaving the white line is if you do lighter colors on it, it's this like really beautiful subtle thing that you kind of see and then you kind of don't see it. This, I believe, is fuchsia. You see, I have a blue up here, so it's kind of mixing with the blue. It's really nice kind of transition. I'm gonna do something at the very end before, let me know when I get closer to
10 minutes before?
it. Okay.
You've got 12 minutes.
So Mark, is it fair to ask, if you did a more realistic, if you're a more realistic painter, if you went back to where you were before, how would you start something like that using this kind of concept?
You know, on my YouTube channel, you can see me doing some figurative work.
Yes.
And if you see it in the beginning, you'll kind of see what I do. I do a drawing and then I project that drawing onto the thing and then outline it. And I usually outline it with black, and then I'll come back with just water and like a sponge brush and go all the way around it and kind of push it out and then go over it like that in the same, similar way. I don't think the last time I did a realistic portrait. Did one of my daughter, and it was very loose, but it was realistic. And I did it by layering. You start with a really dark color, you put your mids in, put your highlights in, and then you come and reinforce the stuff. I think there's a bunch of videos out there on that. It's really the same principles. Like right now, because this is so black, I want this pink to really kind of show up a little bit more, so I'm gonna wait and spray it and come back to it. But one thing I do at the end, almost always, is I look back at it and look back at my original stuff that I had in there. And I decide what I want to emphasize. Just that extra little bit of black just makes it. And if you go back over it with your finger, it becomes a smoky thing.
Yeah, I like it.
That is so nice.
Is that your big black?
You get black. I tell you, it was a journey for me to find that, and years. I even tried to make my own, and you can make your own charcoals, it's very easy. Anybody have grapevines in their house?
Have what?
Or in the grapevines, that's what vine charcoal is. Mhm. What do you think about it? You know, here's a demystification of art. Before Liquitex and Grumbacher and all these other people made their own stuff. I mean, it was a skill to have someone make. Most of the helpers in ancient art, like Da Vinci, Michelangelo, they always had a chemist there that would make their colors for them. And that's why some of them are so toxic. Oh, here's another clip. This is a bit of insight from the world. I see how that really pops it. Is, you know how you see pastels and sometimes you see colored pencils and they have the color and they say it's non-toxic? Like almost all of them say non-toxic, right? If it has the word cadmium in it, it has cadmium in it. That's cancer causing. Radioactive. Cobalt. Titanium.
Chromium.
Yeah, chromium. Phthalate. All of those are real dangerous things. So you either have to embrace that or prepare yourself. You know, there's going to be a certain point where people say that air causes you to die or something. No. So people were talking about the white. Also, another, I didn't bring it today, I use can air all the time. Can air, that way you don't have to touch it with your hands.
I was on Terry Ludwig's website the other day looking at things, and you all know that Terry was trying very hard not to have any of those heavy metals in his but there is a disclaimer that that he has like 3 of his colors that have chromium in it. So there is a disclaimer on the website about that particular element. But the only ones he's listing, I think they
Yeah,
do
it's
work.
something that really works. That's why I don't do oil paint anymore, because it really is high in that. There's this great TikTok. See the difference between that white and that white? So if I didn't like these little marks like that, I would spray this and come back over it and I'll be totally white again. I embrace the mistakes. There's a really good book out there. It's called The Art of Mistakes. And it's about an artist that uses kind of more decorative elements, it's just like, you have to make a lot of mistakes and you use them, because sometimes they're beautiful. You can tell, this is Rembrandt that I'm working with right now. You can just tell the difference. I always say this, and it is a little bit exclusionary, but it really does sometimes come down to what kind of materials you're using. If you're using high quality or you're using student grade. Also, you probably don't like this. There's 3 grades of paint, always. One is student grade, one is just artist color, artist color sometimes, and then there's premium or superior or professional is another word for it. All of those are better. And there's certain brands, like if you're doing acrylics, honestly, the best brand to me is Golden. It's the best one. It's the most expensive too. And in pastels, especially local, Terry is the best.
You're paying for the pigment.
Yeah, you are. You know, and that's how I started making my pastels. I was like, I wonder if I can make a bunch of blue pastel just from pigment. So I bought a $15 bottle of pigment about this big, and I made 40 pastels out of it. It's pastel, chalk, sometimes a gum binder, and water. That's it. So, if you're in a budget, remember the pigment paint with sticks.
Is it gum Arabic?
Gum Arabic, yeah. See, I didn't see that before, so I like how it's like big. It's kind of repeating.
I have a silly question. Is there a focal point on?
Let me look.
I see one, but I mean, do you?
I have been accused of being a middleist, that doing things right in the middle.
Ah.
So it is kind of center-based, but I would say the focal point is right here.
That's what I would
Yeah,
say too then,
yeah,
okay.
and that this is the accent, right there. Yeah, I had a really good friend of mine. I did this beautiful pastel drawing, and it was very central image, and I did end up selling it. And I said, "What do you think of this one?" He goes, "I don't know. You started right in the middle, right there." I said, "Yeah, it's a central image. I wanted to do that." So now, every time, on purpose, I put a dot right in the middle of the thing, on purpose. I told him that later. He goes, "You really did that?" I said, "Yeah, it stuck with me." So it would be right here where these 2 X's come together. See how the white makes a big difference? Kind of smooths it out, but then you have this really beautiful gray happening in here. One of my last steps that I do, actually I like this a lot now, is I will come back and I'll clean it up. So if I don't like this smudge or something, I'll come back in with a clean eraser and do it. The stretchable ones, the gum ones, those are the, not gum erasers. Kneaded ones are really good. And I don't know if you ever do this, stretch it out really good, get it really white, and then instead of going like this, stamp it, and then pull it off, and it'll pull loose stuff off. Gum erasers are really good too. And did you know you can wash your erasers?
No.
Yeah, soap and water.
Needed erasers?
Not needed.
No.
Needed, you throw them away when they turn black. But like this, I was working with, I don't know what it is, this pinky, soap and water, it'll be pink again.
It's pink.
Yeah, it's pink.
Okay, that's easy.
Deep down.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, it's pink.
Yeah, these are the old school erasers, but they're still very popular. They have just the best lines. Okay, I think my time's up.
Wow.
Thank you. I have got a business cards and a postcard if you want. I am on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
I have a question I'm burning to ask. Did you design your shirt?
No, I found it online. I found it online. It reminded me, you guys know who Hans Hoffman is, the artist?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like a Hans Hoffman to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's your colors.
And interesting enough, Jackson Pollock learned from Hans Hoffman.
Oh,